hello everyone and people on the internet. Welcome to the Philosophical Research Society. For those who are new here, we're founded by comparative philosophy scholar Manly P. Hall, who built this charity organization in our awesome library back there to spread the ideas of the world's various wisdom traditions. Coming up here, we have a bunch of events, such as next week we have Yolanda Robinson's Tarot Workshop on the mystical power of the number 7, which will explore the deep ideas primarily of the Chariot and the Tower tarot cards. So that's February 11th. And also February 11th, another tarot event where author Jessica Doré will discuss the psychological uses of tarot symbolism. On February 17th, singer-songwriter and producer of The Monkees will be here with Grammy-nominated author Andrew Sandoval to talk about their adventures in pop music. We also have a new online class, The Esoteric Philosophy of the Movie Gravity, Suffering, Purpose, and Transformation, where we take the movie's themes of trauma and aimlessly drifting through life as a way to explore 3 great titans of psychology, philosophy, and spirituality: Outwitting the Devil, the Bhagavad Gita, and Man's Search for Meaning. Visit the bookstore or our website to jump into any of these ongoings. Today, we have a very cool event. Shiva, the symbolism present within his image, with Kamini Natarajan. This talk is being held in support of the Resonance Collective's Golden Thread Concert Series collection. Next Saturday, February 11th, at the First Congressional Church, LA, Kamini will lead a night of ragas, a dedication to Shiva that weaves the intricacies of Eastern melody and rhythm with Western harmony. Today, we will explore various facets of Shiva in preparation for Shiva Ratri, the Night of Shiva. Kamini Natarajan is a teacher, author, and musician based in the Los Angeles area. Her deep spiritual background informs her music, which blends Eastern mantras and chants with Indian ragas to create kirtans that are traditional and extremely meditative, as they are composed specifically to leave the participants feeling serene and resonant to subtler spiritual ongoings. She is also the author of the Kirtan ebook, Indian Ragas for Kirtans. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the lovely, warm introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here. And as he said, yes, my name is Kamini Natarajan. Kamini, and I know that, like a lot of people pronounce it as Kamini, and I keep saying that, no, think of harmony, and then think of Kamini, or think of the word calm, and then mini, right? That's an easier way to remember my name. I come from India, of course. I spent over a decade learning Indian classical music. So I am primarily a musician, an Indian classical musician, as well as a devotional singer from India. And when I started learning and exploring devotional music, along with that, of course, came the study of various scriptures and stories and all of these fascinating stories about various Hindu deities and goddesses and gods and the meaning behind them, and as well as learning several mantras through that. I have settled in Southern California. I currently live in Simi Valley, and I have lived here now for 20 years. We came here in 2002, and ever since I have participated in various yoga festivals and collaborated with various musicians, have done, like several performances and recordings and stuff like that. I have my beautiful family here. My daughter Shivali, she always sings with me actually, and she will be singing with me next week for the Shivaratri, and then my husband Shekhar. So today I'm going to talk about Shiva and kind of try to explore various, things about Lord Shiva. Talk about various forms of Shiva, what does Shiva look like, and then Shiva and his little family, of course, and then also talk about the festival Shivaratri that is happening on 18th of February actually. And then we will all try to recite together a Shiva mantra because, as I said, I am a singer first and foremost. And, so we will learn that mantra. Here is a little painting that I did of Shiva a few years back. And when I say few years, I think a good 15 years back. Okay. So talking about Shiva, right? Who is Shiva? Spelled in, of course, various ways and also pronounced various ways throughout India. Shiva or Siva is one of the main deities of Hinduism. So people who identify as Shaivites or the devotees of Shiva consider him the supreme god. There is also another kind of group of people who consider themselves Vaishnavites, and they are devotees of Vishnu. However, it's not, it's like there is quite an overlap. It's not like Shaivites do not worship Vishnu or Vaishnavites do not worship Shiva. But, so for Shaivites, Shiva is the supreme god. So Shiva is also one of the trinities of Hinduism. So there are three main deities in Hinduism. One is Brahma that we see here. So Brahma is considered the creator. So he is considered the creator of the universe. He is often shown as, sitting in this lotus with Vedas in one hand and then a lotus in another. He has 4 heads and is often depicted with a long white beard. So he is the creator, and there is an interesting story about him. He is the creator, but all over India, where there are probably like millions of temples for all other deities, it is said that there are only 8 temples of Brahma, and there aren't as many temples of Brahma as there should be. And there are several stories about him and how he created the universe. So one story is that he created an extremely beautiful female called Shatarupa. So Rupa, as such, it means, a beautiful form. And Shat, the word, means 100. So she was, nearly 100 times beautiful as, if there is a standard than that. But she was so beautiful and Brahma created her, but he was himself so infatuated towards her that he grew ahead in every direction that she went. So if she went in that direction, he grew ahead here so that he could look at her. If she went in that direction, he grew ahead here, and of course in the back. And she, of course, she did notice that, right? It did not go unnoticed. So she tried to jump high. Now let's see where he sprouts ahead, right? So she tried to jump high, and he actually did grow ahead here on the top. Now Shiva noticed this, and he was extremely angry at this lustful nature of Brahma, and he chopped down that 5th head. And that is kind of the story, and people say that he kind of cursed Brahma, that there wouldn't be temples of you and people wouldn't worship you because you are lustful. And then the story also goes that so Brahma, he took various forms as an elephant and deer and insect and kind of created all the entire universe. and Shatarupa, she created a female form of everything, right? So, and that is the story according to, Hinduism, of how we got all these different species and animals and birds and insects. So then there is Brahma, of course, the creator. His wife is Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. She is also often depicted sitting in a lotus. Then we have Vishnu. So Vishnu is the preserver. So he is the god to make sure that everything is going on well with the world. He is supposed to have various avatars. Lot of his avatars are really powerful gods themselves, such as Krishna is one avatar of Vishnu, and Rama is also one other avatar of Vishnu. In this photo, we see Vishnu standing up here with his, that is called Shesh Nag, the 5-headed cobra. Typically, we see him resting in that bed created by the Shesh Nag. And it is said that even when, you have that much stress in life going on, imagine that, a cobra is standing on top of your head and you are still able to relax, right? And that is kind of the power of meditation. Vishnu's wife is the goddess Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is the one who is the goddess of wealth and prosperity. So first it is Brahma, right, the creator, knowledge and wisdom. Then comes wealth and prosperity. And then we have Shiva. So Shiva, sitting here in a very meditative pose, eyes half closed, is considered the Adi-Yogi. Means he is the one who kind of started this practice of meditation and yoga. He is considered the destroyer, right? So we have the creator, we have the preserver, and then we have the destroyer, because without an end, it is considered that there cannot be a new, fresh beginning. So destruction or endings are as important as beginnings. So Shiva is one, Indian Hindu god who is full of contradictions. He is, of course, the destroyer, as I said. Here, if you look at this meditative pose, you wouldn't really call him the destroyer, right, that he is. Going further and kind of, digging deep into where it all started, I think that is one thing that has really been fascinating for me. And I was talking to this gentleman right here and saying that I am from, central India. And in central India, we have these caves called Bhimbetka rock paintings that are considered prehistoric, around pre-10,000 BCE. And these rock paintings have been interpreted as some form of Shiva. And I have tried to kind of, add a photo here. People have considered that the painting here depicts a form of Shiva called Nataraja, from where I get my name, Natarajan. Shiva as a lord of dance. I have a slide here actually that shows this Bhimbetka painting in a bit of more detail. And then one more. So in this slide, this lower bottom image, this one. Right, so that is considered a trident, and scholars have identified that as being Shiva. And then the top one right there is actually has been considered an image of the Lord Ganesha, who happens to be Shiva's son. So the previous slide, those Bhimbetka rock paintings, they were from prehistoric 10,000 BCE. Fast forward to, I would say, around 3000 BCE. In India, they have also found and discovered this seal called the Pashupati seal. And scholars have dated this seal to be around 2350 to 2000 BCE. The seal was found when they were excavating Indus Valley. So Indus Valley civilization was one of the oldest civilizations, a Bronze Age civilization that existed in India, in actually the northwestern regions of India. If we look at the geography now, parts of the Indus Valley civilizations are in India and Pakistan and Afghanistan. So this civilization, along with the civilization of Egypt and Mesopotamia, are considered one of the really, flourishing early civilizations. So here what you see is they have called this the Pashupati seal. So Pashupati is also another name for Shiva. Pashu means animal and Pati means the Lord. So in this form, Shiva is considered the Lord of animals. And if we look closely here, right, here this one looks like kind of a tiger. Here we have this animal looking like maybe a deer, an antelope, right? And then this form right here has been considered as Shiva. So studying further, right, about the various forms of Shiva, and there are many actually. I picked these four because I think these four kind of represent various, really different and unique forms of Shiva. So this, starting here, is a form called Rudra. And then we have Nataraja. My name, of course, comes from that, Natarajan. We have Ardhanarishvara. And then we have a Shiva Linga. And we will, of course, look at each one of these. So Rudra, this form, this is actually one of the earliest forms of Shiva. There are, in Hinduism, there are Vedas. There are four really important Vedas. Rig Veda, the scripture, is considered to be the oldest. So Rig Veda has been kind of dated to be between 1300 to 1000 BCE. And in Rig Veda, there is no mention of Shiva, but there is mention of Rudra. And it's kind of mentioned only 3 times in that entire scripture. But it is known that Shiva originated from Rudra. So Rudra, if you look here, kind of is a hunter, right? He is a hunter. He is considered the mightiest of the mighty. Also considered to eradicate problems. And the word Rud as such in Sanskrit means the cry. So it's considered that he is the god of storm and lightning, and he howls really loudly, mighty. And then, of course, with everything, as with everything, there is a little, fun story behind that name. So it is considered that he was the son of Usha. Usha is the goddess of dawn and the god of wind, Vayu. So in Indian traditions, we don't name a kid when the kid is born. We typically name after like 40 or 45 days. So when Rudra was born, he wasn't named and he got so upset that he cried. He cried so loudly that his name became Rudra. Rud means to cry. So however, Rudra at the time being, and actually even when we see the reference of the Indus Valley civilization, where we also saw that Pashupati seal, Rudra was the form that the people worshipped. Sometimes Rudra was also called Shiva, as it was kind of a nickname that was given to Rudra. And that is how Shiva came into kind of an existence, the name Shiva. Then we have Nataraja. So Nataraja is the dancing form of Shiva. While doing this dance, he is supposed to be dancing a dance form called Tandav. Now that dance form is supposed to be so powerful that it can bring the entire universe to a stop, destruct, and then reconstruct. Here, if you see at this image, you see that Shiva is kind of in between a ring of flames, right? He has 4 arms. There is a little damaru on that arm right there. That is kind of a little hand drum, and it is supposed to be, like creative and expressive, and when played by Shiva, it amplifies the sound. And then here he is actually seen standing on a demon called Muyalaka. So it is also said that this form represents the most creative form of Shiva. In the present day, we do not see that many temples as such with this form of Shiva, the Nataraja. There are a few temples within India that are dedicated to the Nataraja form of Shiva. There is one in a place in southern India called Chidambaram, where my father was born on Shivaratri, which is why my last name is Natarajan. The word Nataraj as such means the god of dance. Nat means dance, Raja or Rajan means the king. So the king of dance. Then we come to this unique form of Shiva called Ardhanarishvara. There are also very few temples with this Ardhanarishvara temples, and a few of them are actually right now in southern parts of India. So Ardha, the word itself, it means half. So, and Nari means woman. Ishwar means Lord. So in this form, Shiva is half male, half female, and it is said that it's kind of right in the center. So it is believed that the god, the male form is Shiva here, and the female part is his wife Parvati or Shakti. Now talking about one of the most popular actually forms of Shiva. It is this form called Shiva Linga. And when you visit temples of Shiva, more often than not, you are going to find a Shiva Linga instead of actually an idol of Shiva. So again, another interesting story of why Shiva isn't worshipped in his, like an idol form, but as a Shiva Linga is that, so one day he was resting with his wife Parvati, and there was a sage called Bhrigu who wanted to go meet him, and he could not, because there was a Nandi, the bull, Shiva's bull, standing on the way, and Nandi bull would not allow Bhrigu to enter and disturb the peace of Shiva and Parvati. So then Bhrigu got very angry and cursed Shiva that you would only be worshipped in an abstract linga form and not in your, like actual form. So, but then Shiva Linga as such, it's very abstract, it's formless. It kind of, if you look at the meaning of the word, it means a mark or a characteristic. And this kind of pillar form, it represents power. There are supposed to be 12 of really powerful Maha Jyotirlings within India. And those are distributed all around India, and those are a big pilgrimage centers for Shaivites. Looking at some of them, I'm not sure how readable that is, but going from the very top, there we have Kedarnath. Jyoti, the word Jyoti means light. So, Jyotirlings are the powerful places where we have these linga temples in India. So, Kedarnath, then we have Kashi Vishwanath, we have Vaidyanath here, we have Mahakaleshwar and Omkareshwar, Nageshwar, Somnath, Krishneshwar, Trayambakeshwar, Bhima Shankar, Mallikarjuna, and Rameshwaram. So these are the 12 Jyotirlings. I also have a slide with, how each one of them actually look. I actually grew up very near that Mahakaleshwar and Omkareshwar, actually right in those places when I was growing up. And the earlier, those rock paintings that I was talking about, the Bhimbetka rock paintings, they are also actually somewhere right here in this area. So this slide kind of shows us various, Shiva Lings from all of those 12 Mahajyotirlings. As you can see, they are each very different, right? For example, the Mallikarjuna, it has the Sheshnag on top. Then we have Mahakal, which is very different from, let's say, Kedarnath, almost a shape of a pyramid there. So these are all different, and every 12 years there is a big religious spiritual fair called Kumbh Mela that happens in some of these, and it kind of rotates every 12 years. Now, talking more about different forms of Shiva, one thing that really fascinates me about Shiva and makes Shiva very different is his unique kind of properties, right? His unique way of how he looks and how he appears. So typically when we look at Hindu gods and goddesses, they are really, like decked up, right? So they wear a lot of gold and precious stones. For example, in the center we have Krishna and Radha. So as you can see, Krishna has a nice, golden crown on his head. He has various flowery garlands and necklaces, and He's draped in this yellow silk, probably, right? Looking really pretty. And then we have Ganesha, who actually happens to be Shiva's son. Also, like really looking at him, you would know that it's very like prosperous, right? Abundance of food and delicacies and dessert, actually. And then seated in a nice, really large, comfy throne. And then in stark contrast, we have Shiva. At least this photo, I think, has, like it's a modern, of course, photo, so it's all nice, kind of a glittery background as such. But if you kind of ignore that background, what we see here is kind of Shiva wearing a lion's skin and then a snake, right? And there is like no jewelry, right? There is no precious stones there, and just in a meditative position, and that is pretty much it. Even when we look at these other images, for example Vishnu here on this side, Vishnu is also kind of adorned from top to bottom in all fineries. Then we have Rama, who is actually an avatar of Vishnu, again with his wife Sita, his brother Lakshman, and Hanuman right here. Again, like wearing a really big, heavy golden crown with rubies and emeralds and all of that, and kind of draped in really nice clothes here. And then we have Shiva, who is just sitting in a meditative position. And he actually is, like typically he is considered to live in the Himalayas, in the Kailash Parvat, where it is really cold and icy. And but that is how he sits and meditates. That brings me to his nice family photo here, right? So he is here shown seated with his wife Parvati and two sons, Ganesha, the one with elephant head, and then the other one is Kartikeya and goes by various names, Muruga or Skanda. And then there is also this bull, Nandi, right here. And they also kind of have a very interesting stories, right? Several actually stories, one of which is a really exciting little story about the birth of Ganesha. So one day Parvati wanted to have a nice relaxing warm bath, and so she created Ganesha from her own dirt, is what they say. So she created a little boy and gave that boy some life and kind of ordered that boy to keep guard so that nobody could enter and disturb her nice warm bath. And Shiva was outside somewhere. When he got back home, he really, of course, he wanted to go home, right? He wanted to just get in. But then Ganesha, this boy, wouldn't let him because Ganesha had not seen Shiva, and vice versa, right? Shiva had also not seen Ganesha. So Shiva did not know that it was his own son in, kind of some ways. So he cut the head off Ganesha. And then Parvati was, of course, very upset. And she ordered Shiva, of course, to do something about it. And then that is how pretty much, Shiva got the elephant head. And they found an elephant and they kind of put that head on to Ganesha. And that is how Ganesha got his elephant head. That is, kind of the story there. So, but what is also, important here is the Nandi, the bull here. So Nandi bull, you will always pretty much, I would say, see Nandi, the bull, sitting and kind of, like guarding the Shiva temples in India. So it is said that Nandi is also the vehicle of Shiva. It is said that it's always, like depicted in this seated position with 4 feet really grounded. And it is said that the 4 feet symbolize Satya, Dharma, Prema and Shanti. So Satya means truth. Dharma means doing the right thing. Prema means love. And Shanti is peace. And it's also said that what we can learn from Nandi is that the sheer concentration and focus that Nandi has and is always looking towards Shiva, right? If we lead our lives in that way, it's the right thing to do. It's also kind of a tendency in India, and we believe that whatever we whisper into the ears of Nandi gets to Shiva. So if you visit India and you visit a Shiva temple and you see people whispering into the Nandi bull, then know that they are, trying to basically reach Shiva with their wishes and prayers. And it is said that, Nandi is kind of, the assistant, right? So he can get the job done, kind of. And I think through all of this, what I really love about learning this and about, these little stories and these animals related with gods and goddesses is that I think it allows us to think about coexisting, right, with the universe. And that we as humans are here to coexist with animals, right? If we look at Hinduism, I would say that nearly 90% of the gods and goddesses have a vahana or something that connects them with either a bird or an animal, right? The big Ganesha has mouse. Kartikeya, his other son, Shiva's other son, has a peacock. Krishna has cow, right? Saraswati has a peacock, and Shiva has a bull. So it's wonderful that even gods need this support of animals and birds across the universe. Now looking at this image, right, it's kind of unique because where do we see, somebody sitting in a meditative position but with a cobra around his neck, and then water, the mighty Ganga river flowing from his head, and then there is a trident, and then there is a third eye, right? So this I find very fascinating. And to me, it goes beyond what we see, right? And what we just, look at this photo. So to me, it almost feels like that Ganga or the river that is shown flowing from his hair is kind of like knowledge, unstoppable and ever flowing. Then the third eye, it is actually said that when he opens the third eye, there is, an entire cosmic destruction and then a reconstruction. But to me, I think it also kind of signifies foresight, right? How do you look into your future? How do you plan? There is a cobra right there around his neck, kind of an alertness even while meditation. And then there is this crescent-shaped moon that kind of, to me signifies the mind. And then his body is also blue, as you can see. And of course, there is a story for that as well. And then the story goes on like, there were devas, all the gods. and Asuras, the demons. So they had this entire ocean churning contest to get Amrita, meaning the nectar of immortality. So when they were churning, they used this Shiva's snake named Vasuki as the rope, and then they started churning it. When they churned it, instead of actually getting the Amrit or the nectar of immortality first, they actually got the potent poison from Vasuki. It is said that one drop of that poison could destroy the entire universe. And to stop that from happening, Shiva drank that poison, which turned him blue. But blue as such to me also kind of signifies vastness, right? And infinity in some ways. If we look at ocean, for example, it appears blue. If we look at the sky, it appears blue. It is vastness, never ending in some ways. And then there is that trident, Trishul, to destroy the physical, mental and spiritual suffering. There is also that Damaru, a little drum that signifies creation and expansion. And then there is this lion skin, right? Victory of our animal instinct over our body. So that is kind of, like the entire depiction of Shiva here. Moving on, I also wanted to talk a little bit about Maha Shivaratri, the festival that is coming up. It is said that Maha Shivaratri is celebrated when Shiva, so that night Shiva did a little Tandav dance in form of Nataraja. Some people also say that that is the day that he got married to Parvati. So Maha Shivaratri is a festival that is celebrated all across India. It is one of the few festivals that is actually celebrated at night. Typically all festivals are celebrated in the morning time, but Maha Shivaratri, Ratri actually itself means night, is the night of Shiva. Various traditions celebrate it in various ways. Majority of India fasts during Maha Shivaratri. So they fast for the entire day, and then after that they do the puja and then they break their fast. So this is kind of a photo of Maha Shivaratri celebration from one of those 12 Jyotirling places. I also have a little video that I wanted to play, and that also kind of depicts the celebration of Maha Shivaratri. Typically the puja consists of bathing that Shiva Linga in milk and various other like sandalwood paste and turmeric and all of those things, and then fasting and chanting and just the divine darshan, or when you go and see the temple. So let's try to play this.
If you treat Mahakal as death, Shiv as representing death, or person who ended death, can conquer death, then it has a special significance, because we as mortals are afraid of death. Kal is also time, because Kal eats us all, in a manner of speaking. So if time we represent, Mahakal represents the eternity of time, which holds all of us in bondage. It is one of the Dwadash Jyotirlings of Shiva, and they have a fantastic ritual there in the morning, which is makes the hair on your body stand out. They have the Bhasma Arati, where the hot ash from the cremation ground is brought and the Shivling is bathed in that and people worship that.
मेन बाबा शिव जी का दिन होता है महाशिवरात्रि। महाशिवरात्रि की 9 दिन की शिव नवरात्रि यहाँ मनाई जाती है बाबा की, और उसमें लाखों भक्त आते हैं।
But that is not, people would say, superstition. No, it is a reminder that everything ends in death and the cycle of death and life goes on.
So with that, we come to the mantra part of this, and the shortest, one of the shorter mantras, Om Namah Shivaya. We are saying pretty much that I bow to Shiva. And I am going to try to sing this, and as I was saying, I am primarily a singer. So I am going to play this drone to help support me. And feel free to chant back. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And with that, I would like to end my presentation for today. I will be back with the Resonance Collective for their Golden Thread celebration, and where it will be more of a concert and music for Shivaratri next week on Saturday. And have a great rest of your Saturdays and Sunday. And I'm Kamini. For more information, you can look up my website, kaminimusic.com. Thank you so much, Kelly here and Sarah, for setting all of this up. And thank you, the Philosophical Research Society. Thank you.